Welcome to my channel. So in this video, I am going to explain the topic interrupts in 8086 microprocessor. Okay, first let us see what is interrupts actually. So interrupts is what it is a breaking of operation. The name itself you see interrupt the main program execution. I interrupt the main processing operation. So that indicates what interrupts, right? So it mainly used for what break the sequence of operation is called as interrupts. Okay, so what are the different sources of interrupts actually? So the source, I mean the main sources of interrupts in 8086 microprocessor is what? Basically, the interrupt sources are two types. One is that is hardware interrupt and software interrupt. Okay. Now I am going to explain one interesting topic. Okay. For this better understanding of this interrupts 8086 or any type of interrupts. Right. Now let us assume the our classroom. Okay. So for example, our classroom consists of 60 students. Right. So I am the teacher. I am going to take the I am the main CPU. So I am the main CPU and 60 students which are present inside the class. So I am taking the class, for example, interrupt topic, right? So during that program, during that execution, my main processor execution is going on. I am teaching the concept of interrupts to the inside the class. Okay, main CPU execution. So many operations are there. That is 60 students means 60 operations are carried out over here. Many operations are there, right? So they are going to listen. So whatever I am the main CPU, I'm going to give the commands, or I'm going to deliver the information to what kind of activities they have to do. So that will be carried out by the students. We just assume this is the main processor execution. So during this main processor execution, if any external interrupt coming from the outside world, okay. So during class hours, any outside world, for example, if any office boy or attender wants to communicate the circular information to the students. Okay, so what he is going to do, he is going to give the request. So excuse me sir, so that excuse me sir indicates what? Request coming from the outside world, right? Request coming from the outside world indicates the external interrupt is coming to the main CPU execution, right? So during that request interrupt request coming from the outside world. So what the main processor main processor will do? So the main processor will complete the current cycle, that is current for example, I am taking the one concept, I'm going to complete that concept, then I am going to give the access my CPU, my database and address bus, my CPU access to the external world. Okay, so then I am going to access the data from the external world, that is interrupt. I am getting the circular from them, and I am going to deliver means execute. Okay, so execute that circular to the what I mean main student, that is CPU. Inside the CPU, so many students are there now. So inside the CPU, I'm going to deliver that information, that circular information to the different parts. Okay, then I'm going to return back. I'm going to return back to that circular, right? So what he's going to do, that external interrupt after execution is over. So he is releasing that system bus, and the main system bus access will be activated again the main CPU, right? Then I am going to, after delivering of information from the information coming from the outside world, then again I am going to, wherever I have stopped that in the concept, so again I am going to continue. Okay, this type of interrupt indicates what? External interrupt. Okay, that is hardware interrupt. Okay, so hardware interrupts coming from the external side, right? So this is one type of interrupt. Now what about the software interrupt? Let us see the software interrupt, right? So here the software interrupt which are generated by the instructions. Okay, that is software codes. So that is inside the CPU itself, it is going to generate. So that type of interrupt, for example, in a class around 60 members are there. So inside that students are making some chit chatting or any other disturbance to CPU, right? I am taking the class during my class hour, so that students will make some noise, or the student will make some disturbance to main CPU. I am the main CPU, right? So that type of interrupts, okay, inside the CPU itself, it is going to generate the that is breaking of operation or interrupting the main CPU, means that type of interrupt indicates what? Software interrupt. This is the best example we can give for hardware interrupt and software interrupt, right? And also some additional interrupt is there, what? Dedicated interrupt. That is dedicated interrupt is what? Exception condition. Okay, both the exception condition is called as what? Dedicated interrupts. Okay, Now I'm going to explain this hardware interrupt and software interrupt and dedicated interrupts in 8086 microprocessor, right? So here the hardware interrupts, there are two hardware pin, I mean interrupt pins are there. Already I explained in the pin diagram of 8086 microprocessor in the previous video. We just refer that video, right? So here INTR and NMI. Okay, so this INTR and NMI pins are in the hardware interrupts, right? Then software interrupts here, one instruction is there, that is already I told. Now software instruction is what, that is it is generated by the software code. So that software code is what, that is by executing int suffix n. Okay, int suffix n indicates where n ranges from 0 to 255. Okay, the intn is one instruction. So based on that instruction we can execute the what I mean we can generate the interrupts, right? Then dedicated interrupts means some dedicated interrupts are there, that is divide error interrupt. Okay, divide error interrupt, then single step interrupt, non-maskable interrupt, breakpoint interrupt, then overflow interrupt. Okay, that is type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. Okay, 5 dedicated interrupts are there. Then that I'm going to explain. Okay, explain one by one, right? So these are the basic sources of interrupts in 8086 microprocessor. Okay, now okay, this is hardware interrupts. So hardware I told now. So hardware interrupts is what, NMI and INTR, and INTA bar is what, that is response, that is interrupt acknowledge. But the main two interrupts are what, non-maskable interrupt and INTR. INTR means what, that is interrupt request. Okay, these are the two pins which are used to generate the external interrupt to the CPU, right? And the software interrupts are what, I mean INTN. Okay, INTN is one instruction. So that's when where n ranges from 0 to 250. That is int 0, int 1, int 2, int 3, int 4 up to 255. Okay, that is totally 256 interrupts can be generated by using this intn instruction. So this is the software interrupts, which are internal interrupts, actually internal interrupts and instructions. Okay, internally it is going to generate inside the CPU itself. Okay, so that type of interrupts is what, software interrupts. Okay, now I am going to explain the dedicated interrupts over here. So here the dedicated interrupts are I am going to explain by using interrupt vector table. So here type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So these 5 interrupts are dedicated interrupts, actually, right? So the first type 0 interrupt is what, that is divide by 0 interrupt. Okay, so divide by 0 interrupt means, so during the div and idiv instructions, when the quotient exceeds, the maximum value. Okay, when the quotient exceeds the maximum value that the division in instruction allows, so that type of during that instance, so this type of error will occur. This type of interrupt will be generated for to the CPU, that is divide error interrupt, what, type 0 interrupt. Okay, then it is the reserved for what, up to 0002, that is 00 up to 002, right? So this is reserved for divide by 0 interrupt. Okay, next type 1 interrupt. So type 1 interrupt means it is mainly used for single step interrupt. Okay, so if you want to execute your processor in a single step mode, that step by step execution, so this interrupt will be generated, that is single step mode. Okay, single step interrupt, right? So it is mainly used for what, reserved for single step interrupt, right? Next, type 2 interrupt is it is mainly used for what, reserved for NMI. NMI means what, non-maskable interrupt, type 2. So what actually non-maskable interrupt means, it is mainly used to save program data. So it is mainly used to save program data or processor status. Okay, so program data or processor status in case of system power failure. Okay, so during system power failure, it is used to save the program data or processor status. Okay, what type of the previous status of processor, or the data which is available during the system power failures. Okay, so that can be done by using this NMI, that is non-maskable interrupt, that is type 2 interrupt, right? Then type 3 interrupt, is mainly used for what, breakpoint interrupt. So we can say this as what, breakpoint interrupt. Okay, single byte instruction, that is breakpoint interrupt. So here the breakpoint interrupt means we can set this breakpoints. Okay, software for debugging the programs. Okay, if you want to set the breakpoints in the program, so you can use what type 3, that is breakpoint interrupt. Okay, that is int3. So int3 is what type 3 interrupt, right? Next interrupt is what overflow interrupt. Okay, so into instruction is what type 4 interrupt, that is interrupt overflow interrupt. Okay, if the interrupt is I mean if any during the operations or the arithmetic operations, if the overflow flag will be affected, if the overflow flag will be affected, means this type of interrupt will be generated to the CPU. So these are the 5 interrupts are dedicated interrupts. Type 0 is for divide by 0 interrupt, type 1 is for single step interrupt, type 2 is for non-maskable interrupt, and type 3 is for that is breakpoint interrupt, that is int single byte instruction, that is breakpoint interrupt, and type 4 is used for what int remaining instructions and all mainly used for what that is a software type instructions. Okay, so these are the dedicated interrupts which are used in what 8086 microprocessor. Okay, so interrupts mainly classified into what, that is hardware interrupts and software interrupts and dedicated interrupts. Okay, so hope you understood and enjoyed this video. So please like, share and subscribe this video. Thank you.